Hi, my name is Tony Vicinda, and normally I review, preview, and talk about tantalizing tabletop RPGs, marvelous modules, amazing artwork, and other great games designed by, well, by other people. But today I'm here to talk to you about how to play a gross game I made with my friend John DeCampos from Terrible Games. Well, folks, let's talk about Repugnant RPG. Repugnant is OSR inspired, which means that we believe that player creativity, the logic of the world, and lethality, along with problems having lots of ways to address them, are essential. As you pick your way across the crust, you'll find yourself at the mercy of fetid fiends and foul forces that the collector, what we call the GM, sets before you. So how do you overcome these obnoxious obstacles and pus-filled problems? You throw Chit at them. We call the original D2 system we created for Repugnant covered in Chit. Anytime the outcome of an action is in question or the collector calls for what would normally be a roll in other systems, you grab a handful of chits and you throw them onto a sheet that we call the heap. The number of chits you throw is determined by your SCUS magnitude, how many points you have in a stat, and any abilities that you might be using, along with items, and you can always get an extra chit for describing what you do in a gross way. It's one thing to say, I want to hit the scaboid with my acid zit shot, and another thing to say, I stare down the heap of plastic that's as oily as my skin before pressing a freshly formed zit that swells and bubbles before spewing out a stream of caustic acid. If you come up with something especially gross, the collector may even give you an extra chit. After you have your chits in hand, you make one of three types of throws: a flop, a fling, or a flick. If your character is making a physical or direct action, you make a flop. Place your chit-filled hand 18 to 24 inches above the heat and drop all of your chits at once. If your character is making a clever or ranged action, you make a fling. With your hand at least 18 to 24 inches away from the heap, you toss the chits onto it. Want to make a complex, highly skilled, or multi-part action? Then you make a flick. You place 1 to 2 chits on your thumb, and then you flick them onto the heap a couple at a time. The heap has a somewhat auricular quality to it that the collector and the players can read. Any chits that land off the sheet are ignored. The ones that land on the sheet, along with where they land on the sheet and how they land, let the collector and the players know how effective the outcome was. This will often also tell them a little bit of insight into what the narrative might look like. Did your glutton make a revolting flop with 6 chits to intimidate the head of the sticky boys by burping in their face? Well, it looks like you threw a 7, which normally wouldn't do much, but 2 of the chits landed on the body, doubling their score, and 1 landed on the varmint marker, which makes you a lot stronger. Not only did your burp intimidate Sticky Steven, it went a little wet at the end and vomit sprayed out and got in his eye, so now he'll do pretty much whatever it takes to keep his gang out of your way. But the heap works for more than just throws. If you want to know what time of day it is, ask a yes or no question, or deal with any other number of unknowns, you can always have the players toss on the heap to get insight into what might be happening. The ways of the heap are mysterious. It brings forth the good trash and the worthless junk alike, but there are plenty of tips and tools for navigating its mysteries inside Repugnant, along with rules for how damage, items, abilities, and more work. But throwing chits on the heap is at the heart of it all. I'm Tony Vicinda, Chief Alchemist from Plus One Exp. On behalf of myself and John from Terrible Games, thank you so much for checking out Repugnant RPG.